So I always knew that my father had a little bit of a wild side to him. First, he's got a very large family. I think I've got 9 brothers and sisters, but I have to kind of add them up. So I got a big family. Well, my dad finally retired a few years ago. He would go finish a career and start another one. And when my dad hit his 70s, he began to give me occasional phone calls. Chris, you want to go down to Mexico and do a horse packing trip through the Sierra Madre? Yeah, Dad, that sounds like fun. And we did. Absolute wonderful adventure. And then he called me up a year later. Hey, you want to trek to Everest Base Camp? What? Can you even do that? That trip I declined. But well, anyway, he would come up with these ideas and we would go do them. He calls me up. He says, Chris, do you want to enter a race? And in 2016, my entry into cars and the car culture was pretty low. I'd gone to a couple car shows, but I didn't race, hadn't done anything long distance at that time. So he says, I know this race called the Big Bend Open Road Race. The BBORR is a 118-mile time speed distance event, but it's done on public roads with speeds up to 150 miles an hour. And some cars go even faster in the unlimited division. It's perfectly legal. They shut down the roads for us, and we've got helicopters and planes flying overhead to make sure that nobody enters the course. So we entered, and our first year, and found out that you can actually get into real legitimate racing, even if it's time, speed, distance, for a relatively affordable commitment. You don't have to spend fortunes hand building a car. You just modify what you have, and it's a great time. Well, we managed to squeak out a trophy in our division at our very first event. Now, to give you an idea of the precision that's required, at the time we were in what was called the street rod division, which is the slower division, speeds from 95 up to about 120. We managed to finish the 118-mile course with less than a second of error. And that was good enough, I think, that year for a second place. What you don't see in doing this is what car we were doing it in. My dad went out and decided he wanted to buy a car just so that we could enter this. And my dad has this thing for small cars and convertibles. So what fits that but a Mazda Miata? And my dad loves convertibles, so we put a roll cage on it, but we weren't going to run any kind of top at all. So my dad drives, and I do the navigating. So as you know, in a Miata, this chair is luxury compared to the seat. Oh, and to make it worse, he had taken out the stock seats and put in race seats. So I'm sitting on the floor and I've got no room. So somehow I've got to strap my course notes all to my leg. I've got the GPS mounted over here. I got stopwatches mounted here, and absolute zero room. Second year we go back and had an absolute blast. We even got a trophy. It's kind of like the first time I went bowling. I honestly, to my recollection as a teenager, the first time I picked up a bowling ball, I rolled a strike. And I rightfully never bowled again in my life. No, you finish on a high note, right? Well, wasn't going to work for Dad. We're going to have to keep going back to this race every year. And it's now twice a year that we do it, in the spring and the fall. And which then begins, if you do something long enough, you are going to have malfunctions. Okay, things are going to break. So one year we hadn't trophied the year before, so we were, well, I want another trophy, want another trophy. And to make this even more fun, in the convertible full face helmets, I had to call it the turns and the gear by yelling. Right turn, fourth gear, or decreasing radius ahead, whatever I'm yelling. Dad, why don't we get a intercom system? That way we could, he'll race, but intercom system was too fancy. So my voice would typically go out halfway during the first leg. So one year we're going along and doing pretty good. I always try to keep the car within about a second, but perfect for the majority of the course, and steady him out, bring him to perfect at the end. So I'm sitting there, I got my instruments. Now the truth is, for the 30 odd minutes that we're racing this 118 miles, or you do it as 2 legs, 59 miles out, then they turn everybody around 59 miles back. So I don't get to see the race course. I'm actually usually buried looking straight down at my course notes, GPS, and I'll glance up to make sure that my distance, I've got markers on the side of the road signs, bridges. But I'm sitting there doing that, calling it, and suddenly my GPS just starts error. what the heck? Start tracing the wiring. And again, we're going 110 mile an hour in a convertible Miata. Look back, the antenna was a magnet. I didn't tape it down. It literally blew off the trunk and landed in the seat behind me. Now I can no longer trust my distance. I can get an accuracy in where I am, but I can't use it to navigate any longer. So wait a minute, I've been using distance compared to time. I can use my course notes in the stopwatch to use time compared to course notes. That will work. Okay, all right, so I can overcome this malfunction. We're going along. Okay, we're good. Okay, my course notes are on two sheets, front and back, which means halfway through the race, I have to pull the elastic band down, take the sheet, flip it over, and just do that. It only takes a few seconds until you pull it out and 110 mile an hour wind grabs your course notes and gone out the back of the car. I've lost my GPS. I've lost my course notes. And for a few seconds, I'm sitting there like, what am I going to do? Oh, wait, that's why I carry spare course notes. If I can somehow dig them out of the clipboard without everything flying out the back. We didn't trophy that year, but we kept going. But we've expanded our team. Many of my brothers are now competing. And one of my brothers on the side is he just does it for fun. He finds BMWs all over the country that have either been totaled or in very rough shape, pays pennies on the dollar for, gets them back to Houston, and just fixes them up for fun. Earlier this year, we're going to field 3 cars, all Hayes boys. It's going to be all family, 3 cars. He says, Chris, I've got an M5 for you. That's what you and Dad are going to drive. Okay, sounds good to me. Okay, when your brother's kind of saying I'm giving you a BMW, he scratches his head. Uh-oh. I truly don't care what it looks like. I just need it to be mechanically sound. He says, well, yeah, it's good enough. Well, what's that mean, good enough? Well, he says sometimes one of the cylinders will stop firing and you'll lose power. And I'm like, well, you sure it's going to do the race? He says, oh, yeah. He says, look, worst case, if the dash flashes error and you lose a cylinder, you will lose power. He says, just put it in neutral, shut the car down while you're coasting, and then turn it back on. Now, again, my dad is driving, but I've been given the procedure to explain to Dad just in case. Well, sure enough, we lose a cylinder, and no matter what he does, our speed's dropping. And there is a lower tech limit that you can't drop below. I'm going to say it's for our division, it was 90 or 95 mile an hour. You can't go below that. You'll be disqualified. Well, Dad, you got to go through this procedure. I'm looking at the course, and all right, we have a straight coming up. And all right, Dad's, okay, what do I do? All right, Dad, neutral? Okay. And now we probably dropped, we're really pushing our tech speed for low end. Shut her down. Well, she, in fact, does come back to life. We're still in it. We're still in it. I was actually worried at the turnaround that we might be disqualified for low speed. Nonetheless, we keep going. Well, right off the starting line on the return leg, where the hills and the mountains you have to go through, and the twisties. Yep, lost the cylinder again. And it's going to be miles, literally, before we can find a straightaway to deal with this. And the rules of the event are if you pull off the road, you're done. There is no re-entering the race course. And you have to spend all day sitting there. And it can be, we start gridding at 5 a.m. and we're permitted for the road until 5 p.m. So you could literally be there till 5 p.m. all day on the side of the roads. You have to take snacks, drinks with you. Let's just keep going. The worst they can do is, at this point, is disqualify us at the end. And it would be a legitimate DQ for low speed, but decided it was better just to keep going. I think we were making maybe 85 at this point, as opposed to sitting on the side of the road. Well, cars go off the line in our division every 30 seconds. So in theory, everybody in this group should be at the same speed, just 30 seconds separation. So if somebody catches you or you catch someone, your speed is either above projected or below. We start getting past, which we had never been past before. I've already put away my course data. It doesn't matter anymore. By my calculation at that point, we're 6 minutes off perfect. Can't make that up no matter what. And so I'm just calling out the turns, and I'm paying attention more to the mirror so that my dad can drive and just concentrate on the curves. I'm looking in the side views to see if anybody's going to come up and pass. And I would tell him, all right, we got a Corvette coming up behind, or we have this. He's going to try to take you on the left. And Dad would pull over. We're out of it. We just want to keep going. So Dad would pull over to the side of the road. And we've got the whole road to use. It is permitted, but they would pass us. And one car, two cars, three cars, four cars passing us. All right, well, that's fine. Dad has one little quirk that he likes to do. We may be racing, but Dad loves it so much. He loves to honk at the course workers as we're going by, which drives me nuts because I'm trying to focus on my math and everything, and Dad'll just honk and wave at course workers. Well, Dad likes to honk put on a little show at the finish line, so I can see the finish line. Final straight is half mile ahead. I finally kind of took a breath, and I didn't see the car that was about to pass us, and neither did my dad. And now we may have only been going 85 or 90, but the car passing us was probably doing 115, whatever he was doing, 110. So my dad had just decided at the last moment to center the car in the middle of the road so that he could go through the start finish and honk and wave at all the judges like, we'll take our DQ later. Thank you very much. All I know is, and I admit I had stopped looking at the side view mirror as well. And somebody honks, but it wasn't my dad. It was the car that was trying to stay on perfect time, and we're now moving over to block him. It's close enough that oh God. We had to find the guy afterwards, and it was completely our fault. We should have been to the side. But luckily, there was no hard feelings. I shook his hand, bought him a beer, and it was mainly all of our hearts were just bouncing out of our chests, just what could have potentially happened. But if you race long enough, those things are going to happen. The other courses that are available in the U.S. are in Nevada and Nebraska, and there's also one in northern Mexico. So these events are out there, and they're not that difficult to get into, and they're not that expensive. But it does allow you to do some legitimate street racing that's legal. And I highly recommend attending one of the events if you ever get the chance.
If you're ready for your next adventure, you're gonna need the right car, and the best way to buy your next car is with the help of Premier Financial Services. The simple lease from Premier Financial is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits of a traditional loan, like the ability to accumulate equity, pay it off at any time, and they give you a perfectly easy to understand amortization table, but you also get the benefits of a lease, the low payment, the flexible terms, the low down payments, but also you get to use some certain tax benefits that leases entitle you to. They've taken great care of me, and I know they'll take great care of you, so check them out now at the link in the description below.